Greetings and welcome back to Room 303, AP English, the Roberts Lectures. We are on page 734. We're now looking at Joyce Carol Oates' Loving, her 1970 offering. Joyce Carol Oates, one of the most influential writers of the 20th century, born in 1938, still alive as of the day of this lecture, 81 years young. Great American writer. Published over 58 novels, incredible number of plays and poems, and then of course she is really genius at the short story. In fact, we already have studied her short story on page 303, Where Are You Going, Where Have You Been? She won the National Book Award for Fiction. She's the Pulitzer Prize winner for fiction, and over 3 times. Again, just a brilliant, brilliant poet. I love this little poem, Loving, because it shows what you can do with really, really simple language and yet make a profound observation. Let's just enjoy the poem. Loving. A balloon of gauze around us, sheerest gauze. It is a balloon of skin around us, fine, light, riddled skin, invisible. If we reach out to pinch its walls, it floats from us. It eludes us wetly, this sack. It is warmed by a network of veins, fine as hairs and invisible. The veins pulsate and expand to the width of eyelashes. In them, blood floats, weightless as color. The warm walls sink upon us when we love each other and are blinded by the heavier skin that closes over our eyes. We are in here together. Outside, people are walking in a landscape. It's a city landscape. It is theirs. Their shouts and laughter come to us in broken sounds. Their strides take them everywhere in daylight. If they turn suddenly toward us, we draw back. The skin shudders wetly, finely. Will we be torn into 2 people? The balloon will grow up around us again, as if breathed out of us, moist and sticky and light as skin, more perfect than our own skin, invisible. Now, let's just right away go ahead and point out that at 2b, this is an example, a brilliant example of what we sometimes can call the extended metaphor. That is to say, loving is like a balloon, of course, being somehow inside of a balloon, somehow cut off from the rest of the world, the landscape. We think of our Milton in Paradise Lost and the use of that word landscape, the Dutch word. Number 2, put it in your notes. This is an interesting poem because of the repetition of certain kinds of words. Notice the word invisible, which will end the first stanza and in the very last stanza, that is to say the last word, invisible. In other words, there's something quite remarkable about love in the same way that there's something quite remarkable about you sitting there right now. You have all this stuff happening inside of you, inside of your body, inside of your veins, and yet we're amazingly unaware of all the processes that make us what we are. Oates will play a game with loving as being something similar. Notice, it is a balloon of gauze around us. Sheerest gauze, fragile. The fragility, we might say it at 2a already. A major theme here is that love is fragile. A balloon of skin around us. Fine, light-riddled skin. Invisible. It's something that exists and yet somehow we don't see it so regularly. If we reach out to pinch its walls, it floats away from us the way a balloon will if you reach as a child might. It eludes us. Wetly, we'll come back to this wetly, this sack. And then the third stanza, it's warmed by a network of veins. The word network is a compelling word. Love is a network. It's beautifully patterned, and yet it seems random in some bizarre way. Fine as hairs. And again, we come back to the word invisible. The veins pulsate and expand to the width of eyelashes. And notice then what we do with this line is that we bring out the power of the external manifestations of love with the eyelashes. In them, blood floats, weightless as color. It's a beautiful simile. Weightless as color. The warm walls sink upon us when we love each other and are blinded by the heavier skin that closes over our eyes, from eyelashes to obviously eyelids now. And then we are in here together. Outside, people are walking in a landscape, a city landscape, it's theirs. In other words, loving is in some ways a private affair that somehow keeps us away from the rest of the world. Somehow protects us, right, from that. Their shouts and laughter come to us in broken sounds. Their strides take them everywhere in daylight. What Oates asks of us almost is to imagine what it's like to actually be inside of a balloon, that rubberized kind of balloon, where you would hear sounds, but they would be kind of sounds that are distant. Of course, we're messing around with Jungian archetypes here, the idea of being inside of a balloon, being inside a mother's tummy during those months before we're born, no question. Obviously, as well, we're playing around with the profound ideas that are represented in Plato's Symposium. We've spoken about this in other lectures. That idea that before we're born, we're this perfect sphere, but severed in half. Part of us goes into a soul, another part goes into another soul, and we're like magnets searching for each other. When finally we come together, go to our lecture on Shakespeare's Sonnet 116 at Learn Strong, and you'll be reminded of this one. Finally, when we come together like two magnets, we can say that we complete each other in some fundamental way, playing the same game here. Notice, if these people on the outside turn suddenly towards us, we draw back, the skin shudders, and then we're back to the word wetly, finally. And then the question, notice the use of the dash after landscape at line 15, and then here again after finally makes us think of our Emily Dickinson, doesn't it? Will we be torn into two people? And there it is, right? There's your reference to Plato's Symposium. The balloon will grow up around us again, as if breathed out of us, moist and sticky. Notice the wet images, and light as skin, more perfect than our own skin. More perfect, obviously, is going to take us to this notion of what love is often represented in the St. Augustinian tradition and the Pauline tradition of 1 Corinthians 13, that love is more perfect. And then finally, again, the word invisible. Let's jump quickly to 2A, major themes here. Well, obviously, love is that which completes us. Love is that which is a mystery, an enigma, something we cannot understand, nor can we fully appreciate, and yet we know it when we're there in the experience of love. Also, love can be somehow keeping us from the outside, the external world, the landscape, if you will. At 2B, we've mentioned this power of the metaphor, the extended metaphor of loving as being inside of a balloon, protected in some way. At 3A, we mentioned Sonnet 116 in Plato's Symposium as well, right? That notion of being soulmates in some way. Finally, at 3B, and of course, we can't, I mean, we got to talk Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet, a text that we're familiar with in 303, and that idea that when you're in love, you're somehow oblivious to all of the craziness, the Capulets and the Montagues fighting against each other, that landscape on the outside. Finally, at 3B, to relate to this in some personal way, is this your experience of loving to this point in your life? And is love, in fact, something that often seems to kind of cut us off from the rest of the world? And is that a good thing or is that a bad thing? Of course, it's something that seems to happen and we're kind of blown away by it. I hope that our study here of Oates' loving will lead you to more of her poetry. It's an amazing, amazing poet. Thank you.